Now, the final sort of guest is actually our own Paul Kerryson, coming back to the stage to be interviewed by Jonathan Lampon from BBC Radio Leicester. Jonathan and Paul.
As we look towards 5 years of Curve, I want you to picture a birthday card that's going round the office to say, happy birthday, Curve, happy 5th birthday. What's your message going to be inside it, Paul?
I think my message is going to be, I'd like everybody who hasn't tried Curve to come and try it, because there's still thousands of people out there who haven't tried it. And I would like to obviously let them try something in this season, because I do think that, and you just heard about 3 very different productions, but there are lots more types of genres: circus, contemporary dance. So that would be my message, is come and try it.
2 gifts that you're offering. Oh, I know there's meant much that you offer, Paul, I get that, but there's 2 gifts in particular that you'll be offering. One of which, of course, is the Beauty Queen of Leenane, and the other, of course, is Chicago 2. When I was reading up on the synopsis of Beauty Queen of Leenane, I read about a wild blend of outrageous comedy thriller, horrifying violence and grand melodrama, and I thought to myself, it was a bit like a pre-production meeting for my breakfast show. Tell me a bit more about it, in particular the author behind it as well.
Well, Martin McDonagh, I've been very privileged to work with the authors of both these shows, Beauty Queen and Chicago. I've done 3 Martin McDonaghs in my time, and my very first show at Curve was The Pillar Man, and it was a risk, and I always remember even somebody from the Arts Council saying, "Are you sure that's a good one to open with, Paul?" Yeah. But it did turn out to be a huge success. We were virtually sold out. He's got a style, Martin McDonagh, that is exactly what you've just said. It's very melodramatic, if you like, in one way, but what he says and how he manipulates the audience, I do love that. The last production I did was The Lieutenant of Inishmore, which ended up with body parts all over the stage, and I had to deal with a live cat who appeared for a good 10 minutes. That was a challenge. In fact, I have to say the cat turned out to be more reliable than some of the actors by the end of it. But that's the challenge and the world of Martin McDonagh, and the Beauty Queen of Leenane is no exception. It takes, like the Lieutenant of Inishmore, we go back to the realms of Ireland and his Irishness, but I don't think that's anything to put anybody off with. For me personally, I suppose I've done a lot of Irish work. I am originally from Ireland, after all, so I've done Sean O'Casey and goodness knows what over the years. But for me, Martin McDonagh is one of my favourites. And so I think if you liked The Pillar Man and The Lieutenant of Inishmore, you're going to like The Beauty Queen of Leenane.
Talking about challenges, and you talked there about the cat that you had to work with, but in terms of you setting yourself up for a challenge, I mean, since I've known you, the works that you take on are well-respected works, and works that have won an awful lot of accolades as well. I mean, you only have to look at the Beauty Queen of Leenane to see about, the Tony Awards and also the winning nomination for Best Play at the Olivier Awards. When you are then taking something like that, how do you shape it for Curve? Why is it that this production in particular is going to be different to anything that's been seen before? Whenever
you revive something, you've got to give it your own stamp on it. I mean, sometimes I don't even see other people's productions of things. Of course, I have seen the previous production of Chicago, and there's been only one in the last 16 years, so we're very honoured to be allowed to be one of the first companies to do a new production of this show. And that's exactly what it has to be. With Beauty Queen, your actors, the design, the whole way you talk about it, you've got to make it your own, even though you are dealing with a very good script. With other productions, you mould something, you create something, but with a good script like Beauty Queen, it's all there for you, but you've got to make it your own.
And with this particular production, it's a co-production as well, isn't it, with the Mercury Theatre in Colchester?
It's a bit of what we call...
So how does that work?
Well, as early on I said, part of our last 5 years has been making friends with all the people you've heard today, Matthew Bourne, Akram Khan, and Daniel, who when I first came to Leicester, he was in charge of what was called outreach department, and Daniel is now the artistic director of the Mercury at Colchester, and I've known him for a long time. And so we did a co-production called The Hired Man, which was here in this very studio recently, and it was a fantastic musical. Well done, fans of The Hired Man out there. And Howard Goodall was here. It was fantastic to have him here as well, admiring this great production. But it was all set up so that Daniel would direct The Hired Man, and then later on in the year, I would do The Beauty Queen, and we would take The Beauty Queen to Colchester. It's a bit of a sort of financial thing as well. It eases the finances a bit, but it also elongates the production for the actors. Not only do they just do 4 weeks here in Leicester, but then they go on somewhere else. So doing what we call an exchange is the way forward. So that's how it came about.
You don't have to share a cat or anything like that. There's no animals for this production.
We don't have to share a cat, but we have to share 4 human beings in Beauty Queen of Leenane. But we will do.
Let's come on to Chicago. And it's a difficult one talking about Chicago because we know it incredibly well. What does a Paul Kerryson production of Chicago look like?
When I met somebody just now in the mezzanine, it was very nice. This very nice lady came up to me and says, "Oh, I love your shows, Paul. Somebody always dies in them as well." And I did think about that. And even The King and I was going, "Oh my God, yes, somebody dies at the end of that." And I could only think of Hello, Dolly. Everybody dies in my productions, and Chicago is no difference. Laura has just, of course, sang a song by Roxy Hart, who murders her husband. And doesn't particularly feel any remorse for it. So my version of Chicago would be, I love this show, I have to tell you. Well before the recent production, I had the privilege of working with Kanda and Eb, who wrote it, and I've done about 3 of their productions before, some of their unknown works in the early 90s that I brought to Leicester. But there again, I don't sort of think about those other productions at all. My production will be my style, and very much whoever you choose. Once you choose a cast, it's all in the casting. So whoever plays Roxy or Velma or Mama Morton or Billy Flynn, they will bring, and it's me moulding them and casting them, they will bring their own personalities to this fantastic musical.
Do you have a favourite number? Is there a particular number that gets you every time or you enjoy the most?
This show means so much to me. I used to wave the flag for Chicago when nobody else did. The Chicago was a show that really nobody was interested in until about 1996, when this last production, they found a knack of selling it. And to me, it was to do with communications and selling it. It was all sex and very skimpy costumes. And then the film kind of brought back the original theatre production. But having talked to Fred Ebb and John Kander many times over dinner about when I was with them and these other productions, I feel that they were talking to me about this show and I was sort of living it with them. So for me, the privilege I have is to do something different with it. And so it will be my style and the actors I have in the show style.
And when you're looking at putting on a production of that, I mean, you know, we're talking about 5 years of Curve also today. Do you still get nervous? Do you still get jitters?
I'm not sure I get nervous. I get excited. I get nervous about reviews and critics. Who wouldn't? Or everybody, it's only natural. But I get more excited. And going back to Chicago, what we can give Chicago, this theatre, the technology that we can throw into Chicago, I mean, some of you have seen our musicals recently, even Hot Stuff. I mean, everything is so state-of-the-art. And I think that's another ingredient that we'll be able to give Chicago. Our 40 flying bars, the lighting and everything will give it such a polish and shine that you've never seen before. So for me, it's the perfect 5th birthday musical. And we did a survey last year, because we do like to always ask our audiences, and we had about 10 choices, and it was just a sounding board to help us come to a decision. And we put things in, you know, Funny Girl, Fiddle on the Roof, Guys and Dolls, and right at the top still, and it is caused by that fantastic film, and the recent production was top of the tree with Chicago. So let's hope that turns out to be true.
The two big productions that obviously that you're putting on and you're working on, how would you like them to be received? Because obviously you're creating a work, but also you're interpreting that work as well. How would you like people to view them, both productions?
Well, certainly, if people have seen Chicago before, I hope they will sort of savour the difference and still equally get the same wonderful effect from it. But there are thousands of people who have never tasted Chicago before. I know that because people come up to me all the time and say, you know, we have never seen this show. We've seen Cabaret, Candelarino wrote Cabaret, but they've never seen Chicago. So for me, Chicago is one of those rare musicals that has people on the edge of their seat. It's funny, it's sexy, it's glamorous. It's got everything that I think a modern audience from any age, from 8 years upwards, will enjoy.
Funny, sexy, glamorous. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Kerryson.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jonathan.